Women Worldwide with Deirdre Breakenridge introduces incredible stories shared by women across the globe who have experienced the great heights of success and, at times, the agony of defeat. With a vision to impart wisdom and advice on how to tackle barriers and soar to new heights, the show uncovers different perspectives to help you find your inner strength and to power up your own voice so you can excel in life.
Welcome to Women Worldwide. I'm your host, Deirdre Breakenridge. Let's dive into a topic that affects every single growing company. In one word, integration. The integration of functions, people collaborating and working together across the organization. So that means marketing and PR and IT and customer service. Can you imagine everybody getting along and working together? Breaking down department silos is critical for company success. The barriers, right? These barriers that build up, they actually separate your talent. When I owned my agency, even as a small company, I saw very quickly how departments build up these walls and processes were set in place and critical systems weren't shared and they're not integrated. And you know what? At the end of the day, businesses are missing out on increased productivity, ideation, innovation, and a better experience for your customer. So let me segue into my special guest today. She's a lot to share about technology and integration. Her name is Aly Saxe, and she's the founder and CEO at Iris PR Software. So Aly's journey in public relations kind of led her from PR pro to agency owner to building software for agencies and in-house teams. Iris was created to cure management headaches. Doesn't that sound awesome? Aly's ready to share her story with you. So Aly, it's great to have you on my show. Welcome.
Thank you for having me on your show. I'm honored.
Oh my goodness. Well, it's such a pleasure. I always love chatting with fellow PR professionals. So I know it's going to be a great discussion. Okay, so you are a successful entrepreneur who likes to solve problems. Why don't you share a little bit about how problem solving led to the launch of Iris PR Software?
Yes, and I am kind of an obsessive problem solver. In fact, I'm in Tucson, Arizona today. I'll share a little story about problem solving. I live in Phoenix, which is about 2 hours north of Tucson, and I had some meetings to do down here, and I thought, well, I'm going to go for a couple days to do a little bit of strategy, have some quiet time to solve problems. And on the 2-hour, unbelievably boring, dusty brown drive from Phoenix to Tucson, I think I solved all of Iris's problems, all the world's problems, all of PR problems. I think 90% of them were absolutely insane. But I think there's something to be said about taking the time, and this is so hard for PR professionals who are go, 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 always putting out fires, always responding to that, CMO or client call that just puts you on tilt. To take the time to solve problems is very, very difficult. You almost have to be obsessed with it. And Iris is here because of my obsession. I had a small agency. I wanted to grow. Specifically, I wanted to dominate a niche in my market, which was B2B tech. And there were a lot of problems that were keeping us from achieving that growth. And I literally took all the cash I had in my agency in 2011, which was just after the recession. I somehow managed to save a little money and hired somebody to build Iris. At the time, it wasn't called Iris. It was just the tool that my agency used. And it was, we created it to solve the problems that were keeping us from really proving value to our clients, understanding where we had room for improvement internally so we could get better, streamlining a lot of the workflow. And so we created a tool to solve that. So that's how we solved the problem. Yeah.
That's some story, and you were truly a problem solver if you can take those 2 hours, solve all the PR problems and the world problems too, which is something else. So, I guess in my little intro, I had said that you kind of solved management headaches. Maybe you could just touch on, what is good management in general, and how did you solve that headache?
Yeah, so there's a lot of schools of thought on what makes good management, and there's a lot of components. I'm a firm believer, something that one of my investors has said, and I buy into, is that you can't improve anything until you measure it, and you can't measure it until you see it. So I'm a big believer in seeing things. You have to see what you're dealing with to improve it, to be a better manager, to get a better handle on what your team is doing, how you're performing for customers, what you're offering. And that's really rooted in transparency and accountability. So I think a very important component of good management is starting with accountability and seeing what's happening in your organization, in every part of your organization, from day-to-day performance to culture to growth and mentorship of employees. I think that's a really key component of management, because then, if you're just assuming, or if you're guessing, or if you're going off of what your team members are telling you, you're missing a lot. And I think that plays into, for PR professionals, how they manage their campaigns, how they manage what they offer, their brands or their clients. If they're an agency, if you're not looking at what you're doing and not only looking at the wins, but also looking at the losses so you can learn from them, and managing that in a very constructive and growth-oriented way, you're really holding yourself back. You're holding your team back. You're holding your brand back. So I believe that all great management starts with transparency.
Yeah, and definitely the transparency. You had mentioned with the transparency and the accountability, it's really diving into that day-to-day performance. And we all know that you can't just be looking at one piece of performance and not other groups and what everybody's kind of doing together. So that's that integration. And I think that a lot of, and I'm not just going to say PR professionals, it's marketing professionals, it's professionals in all different departments. It's really tough. But you especially get these silos in marketing. So, how do you, your software must speak to this, but there's also an education process that's involved. Anybody who's going to use the software, or businesses in general, do you feel like they get the importance of the integration, or maybe they do and they just don't know how to make everything connect?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And I think it's a good question for PR pros, especially agencies, to consider. And a lot of agencies are integrated. And what we're seeing on the brand side is marketing leaders like CMOs, VPs of marketing are very concerned with integration. Particularly, they're concerned with PR attribution as it relates to all other areas of attribution in their channels. And you have to remember that, if you're an agency, your clients, the decision makers, are looking at all of their marketing channels, and they're looking at them holistically. And, yes, marketing often operates in silos, but at the decision maker level, it's not. It really does bubble up into one picture. And when a CMO is looking at all of their channels and they see attribution to SEO, ad buys, broadcast, affiliate, referral, and they could see all of the measurements, and then PR is just a black box for them, that's when it gets dangerous. And what agencies really need to understand is that integration is more than just delivering an integrated service offering to their clients. That's fantastic. It's a great place to start. And the lines are certainly becoming grayer between the disciplines of marketing, but put yourself in the client's shoes, or if you're an in-house PR communications person, put yourself in the CMO or even CFO's shoes. Integration to them is a lot more deliberate. It really means looking at the numbers side by side and how all of these channels impact each other. And if the channel you represent is still a black box, that's scary. A bad sign. Yes.
So I think that public relations professionals are realizing we have all these new roles and responsibilities, and we are learning what other areas of marketing are doing. We're very much integrated. We get why sales and PR and marketing and customer service need to be connected. So if PR professionals are now getting this, do you see that coming from the other side? Not necessarily, I'm sure the C-levels, the CMOs and those vice presidents, they're looking at the complete picture. But do you think that people within even the sales reps or people in marketing on a lower level, do they see how PR fits in?
I do see that. I see it not as much as we'd like. It really is typically being driven by the top, again, because people are so, focused on their world. But there are so many bright spots. We do talk to, entry-level Marcom professionals that are very concerned about integration and how is what we're doing impacting marketing, which is impacting sales, which is impacting customer success, and how are we bringing that together? And we're also seeing agencies think about this. One of my absolute favorite things is when we get to talk with an agency that is small, it's a boutique, maybe they're only operating in one market, in a small segment of their market, and they're so concerned with bringing complete value to their clients and really having conversations about, how can we help make your customer churn lower and engage with your customer success or customer service team? How can we help better qualified leads come into the funnel by working more closely with your demand gen team? How can we help your sales team shorten the sales cycle from 90 to 60 days? I see that kind of innovation come from the smallest of places that you wouldn't expect. And I love seeing that because it really is going to take, it shouldn't just be the decision makers, the budget holders saying to the masses, I need this for it to be produced. It should be coming from the ground up. It should be a concern of everybody to start moving in this direction.
Absolutely. I love that a smaller agency is thinking that way. And maybe that's for survival too.
I think it's survival. I think smaller agencies are hungry.
Yeah.
And you and I have been in this position, Deirdre, where
I was a small agency.
Yeah. You've got a specialty. You kill it at what you do. Your team's rock stars, and you have the benefit of being nimble because of how small you are. And we are seeing data that's showing that major brands are shifting budget to smaller agencies away from the large houses. And that's not a knock on large agencies. We work with a lot of large agencies that are doing incredible, innovative things to change up their environment and stay competitive. It's simply easier for smaller teams, and it's very cool when that happens, because those are the teams that when they want, if growth is a goal for them, it happens. When they put that mindset into everything they're doing, the growth follows effortlessly. It's such an awesome thing to witness, and I think it speaks to the changing way that brands allocate budget. We have heard of I won't name the brand because they're a customer, but they recently dismantled their normal practice, which was having one or two agencies of record, their global brands, to bidding out every single project with an RFP. And I mean, every single PR project, and the tiniest of agencies or even a consultant could bid for it because they're looking for a specialist in each and every area that can bring in that integrated approach. So this change is impacting, how brands are managing agencies. That's
a big change, because it used to be, we're going to use the advertising agency and the PR agency, or maybe we'll just get one big global agency that can handle everything. You're putting all your eggs in one basket, no doubt about it. I just know that when I owned my communications firm, we were marketing communications. So we had the PR side, the advertising creative side, and video and web. We used to get accounts from those big brands. And we used to joke about it, saying, you don't have to pay for the Madison Avenue space to get the creativity and the flexibility. Those were two of the selling points. So it's really amazing to see what's happening. And it's nice that small agencies are getting a piece of the action in such a big way. So maybe we'll see more of that. That's really, really cool.
Yeah. And to that end, too, that these agencies can integrate with, most large brands have multiple agencies and they want them to play nice. And, we have a customer that it's a large agency. It's a top 10. And one of their pillars of service is that they will make an effort to work beautifully and cohesively with not only internal departments, but any external agency. And they have a platform where they actually go out of their way to make sure that happens. So when you talk about integration internally, there's this external component too, where agencies really have this great opportunity to say, we really are, every agency says we're part of your team. And then, to act like that.
Exactly. To be really that extension of your marketing arm. Absolutely. I want to pivot to kind of you sharing about your software platform and maybe just giving us a sense of what was the easiest part about launching your software and maybe what was the most difficult for you as well. I was telling somebody the other day, running an agency, owning an agency did not prepare me for being a software entrepreneur. It is just a whole different world. I am challenged every day. It's a beautiful challenge. It's a thrill a minute. But it's just wild. And the things that I thought would be so easy have been my biggest challenge, and things that I thought would be really challenging have been quite easy. Gosh, what was your original question? Yeah, your original question. So
what was using was challenging.
Yeah.
I'll say what the biggest surprise to me was, and this plays into a challenge, but it really was a shock. It was when I learned that the PR agency world is more behind technologically than I thought it was. I really underestimated where the industry was. That's not a knock on the industry. It's a knock on service providers that haven't built technology for this industry in a really long time. I mean, if you think about it, public relations has two categories of technology: media contact directories and monitoring tools. They help you find a contact and they help you monitor the output. But who's helping you with everything in between? Where all the work happens, where all the earned media happens, where the relationships get built, where the performance is measured, where you prove your value. That has been ignored. And PR people, who are, I believe, the most resourceful people in the marketing ecosystem, made do with that. They adjusted. They accepted it and they adjusted. And I was
for
very
such a vocal
surprised.
group. We are a vocal group. You would think that there's no way we're going to let this happen to get behind.
No way.
It's really interesting.
But they didn't know. Again, you're working in your world. You figured out a system with spreadsheets or Basecamp or, whatever other tools you've cobbled together. You figured it out. You were resourceful, and nobody presented you with another option. And if you took that approach, ask the average CMO for a mid-sized company what their marketing stack looks like, and they will rattle off 20 different tools at a minimum. They couldn't imagine getting through any piece of their workflow or their day without a tool to help do it. And when you talk to an agency, aside from social media tools, but just to help them do their job, help them prove value, help them measure, well, I'm using spreadsheets and I have a monitoring tool. And so that was a big surprise to me, and it woke me up to the fact that there needs to be a lot of discussion still in our industry about becoming part of the marketing stack, about really, showing that PR is a value driver for businesses.
We want to be a profit center.
Yeah, it is.
Rather than a cost center.
I believe it is.
Yes.
When we look at PR that is well measured and well evaluated, it can be one of the single business drivers of business impact for a brand. One of our customers recently told us that leads that are generated from PR are 3 times as likely to convert to sales than a lead driven by any other channel in marketing.
Wow.
And I believe that is 100% true. 100% true. And if we can give the PR industry the tools and the data to prove that like this, we deserve a seat at the table, this industry is going to grow exponentially. Right now, $15 billion a year is being spent on PR services, which seems like a big number. It pales in comparison to other areas of marketing, and it's declining. And actually, I take it back. It's not declining. The growth is slowing. The recent Homes report just talked about this, that the growth of agency services is slowing. And the reason is because agencies have failed to keep up with other areas of marketing and advertising in showing how it proves ROI. Ad tech is a $600 billion market.
Well, that's where PR tech is. We're starting to talk about this whole ecosystem. Aly, I'm going to ask you to hold your thoughts. We're just going to take a quick break and give some love to our sponsors. And in the next segment, Aly's going to share how you can keep up with changing times and what it's like to be a CEO of a startup.
You have been listening to Women Worldwide with your host, Deirdre Breakenridge. Segment 2 is coming right up.
Creating brand loyalty requires a unique blend of strategic communications and innovative technology. Pure Performance Communications works with businesses to move their audiences from interest to action, giving you a roadmap that fosters deeper engagement and forges stronger relationships along the way. Visit us at pureperformancecom.com. Thank you.
Now, back to Women Worldwide with your host, Deirdre Breakenridge.
I'm Deirdre Breakenridge. Welcome back to the show. Aly Saxe and I were just chatting about problem solving, integration, and what's going on with PR and really showing value. So, Aly, we were touching upon, you were saying ad tech, and I threw out the PR tech and the ecosystem. One of the things that's really challenging is just trying to keep up with the changing times. And, there was a complacency before, which I don't think that any professional can have. So what do you think it really means to be in technology today?
Technology today, I think, I think a lot of it is about integration. So this topic is very timely. We use integrations in our tool, and we have a very big forward-looking integration roadmap. And the way that sophisticated marketers are learning how to set up their systems today is through integration, through their own marketing stack, having those systems connected, but also connecting out to customer success operations, service and help desk systems, PRM, having everything work together. So I think as far as being, a forward-thinking technology, you have to think about integration. Now that doesn't mean, Slack did this beautifully, and you don't have to be a Slack per se.
Right.
You have to think about that. If you're thinking about, again, the key decision maker in the marketing organization, they need to see their whole world in front of them in a really integrated and beautiful way. And the best way to do that is through integration. I also think being a successful tech company today means being agile. So, gone are the days where twice a year you did a major release in your software. Right. Modern technology companies are doing releases every 4 to 6 weeks. Some of them the customers never see. Some of them, a customer will open their application one day and see an entirely new report or feature, which is such a cool solution. That's so great for the customer that they can just, open up their laptop and boom, they've got a new report that day. And, that's another thing about our industry is the tech that's existed here for a long time is quite old.
Right.
And so what we're going to start seeing, first of all, there's a lot of new startups in the PR tech space, and each one of them is absolutely fantastic in moving this mission forward. But you're also going to see older companies in this space update their technology.
Absolutely.
Or at least, they should be updating their technology. And it's going to start to get competitive, which is very cool. That's what we need.
So are companies listening, whether it's new startups or older companies, are they listening to what folks are saying? Do you think that they're more tuned in, and maybe this is through data, through social technology? Do you think that's where it's coming from?
I think that's it in a lot of ways. I think it's also, I'll take it back to integration. I think, when a marketing team sees how more integrated the sales team has become with their technologies and how they listen to customers and listen to public perception, it bleeds into other areas of the organization, and pretty
Right.
soon the entire organization is far more connected and integrated, and then that bleeds out into service providers like the agencies. I think it's just a natural progression, but all the more reason why these systems have to at least have the capability of becoming integrated with each other.
Exactly. And then what about just being a professional with all these changing times? PR pro, marketer, are there any resources that you can recommend that would help pros?
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, everyone's in the content game now,
Right.
so there's a lot of good education out there. Fear of change is fear of change will kill you.
Yep.
If you're hanging on to the belief that the way you always did it is the way you should always do it, you're going to be saying that to turning the lights off in your company. That's not how modern marketing organizations function, and that's not how the agencies that are seeing the slow down in growth are approaching that. Or the really forward-thinking agencies. I literally had a call this morning with an agency that said, if we cannot demonstrate, if we can't prove to our clients that we are staying on top of how this world is changing, we might as well turn it in.
Right.
I mean, they're really, really thinking about this. And there are plenty of folks that have been doing, they've been resourceful for so long, and they've almost figured out their own systems to a fault, to the point that I don't want to let go of the system that took me 20 years to build, and I finally got it perfected because nobody gave me a tool to do this. I did it on my own. Come hell or high water, you're not going to come in here and disrupt this. I've got it down. But that's not the way the world works.
Yeah, then you're going to go down with the system.
Yep.
You really have to be open and flexible. I'm gonna turn the discussion to personal now, to find out how you describe yourself as a CEO. What's the best way to describe your role as the CEO of a startup?
I really struggle with this, actually. This is hard for me when I'm going to a high school reunion that is not the 10-year. It's after that pretty soon. And I was thinking, people ask what I do. Do I say I own a software company? I'm the CEO of this? Like, it feels weird coming out. And I hate to say it. So I'm a uber feminist. And I hate to say this, but I think it's because I'm a woman that this feels weird to me. I have to put that out there. Because, I mean, a man could be, the CEO of himself and his dog and a company, and he'll say, I'm the CEO. Right. And that's great. And, that feels weird to me. So I'm trying to get better at, when somebody asks, saying I'm a CEO, or I like to say I'm a founder. I'm a software founder. that feels comfortable to me. And, we're in startup stage, so it's still acceptable for me to say that. But yeah, I think more women should really own that title, and I need to start setting that example.
Right.
Now we've gone into some psychology here, dear.
Yeah. But now I'm really going to put you to task here. So pretend we're at your reunion and, oh my gosh, Aly, I haven't seen you in 10, 15 years, whatever reunion it is. So you just told me that you're a software founder. But what do you do? Like, what is it that you do with your startup?
I wash the dishes. I take out the trash. I go to Costco to get food for the team. So CEO of a startup is very much a jack of all trades. It's we're a funded company, so I'm always in capital raising mode. I pitch in a lot on sales, especially with bigger accounts. Because of my background in marketing, I tend to lean towards that probably more than I should. I have a very capable and amazing marketing team that just can't keep me out of their office. So I should probably lay off a little bit there. I pitch in on product vision, and one of the things that this is what CEOs need to be doing, and that I'm intentionally working on, and this is part of why I took the long, dusty brown drive to Tucson yesterday, is to be a visionary and a strategist and think about the big picture. So, when I set out to build Iris, it was it solves my agency's problems. It was never meant to be a company. And it was our special sauce. I mean, we implemented it. It was scrappy crappy. It was hideous to look at, and we tripled in size in 18 months.
Wow.
And it was actually our clients who said, Aly, this is your business. You need to focus on this and let go of the agency, which I did.
That's really exciting.
It's exciting. It was terrifying. It was like full on safety net, comfort zone gone. And I'm so glad I did it. And, now my role is thinking about what's next. How can we continue to grow in the industry and serve the industry and stay competitive, and especially with so many competitors coming into the space, which is exciting. It's building momentum. So I think my most important job as a CEO, and any startup founder's most important job, is to be the visionary. To be intentional about being a visionary, because it's really hard to do that when the trash has to be taken out and the sink is full of dishes, and you can't afford a cleaning lady to come to the office more than once a week.
Opposite ends of the spectrum when you're you're the dishwasher and the bottle washer or the cook, but you're also on that vision and strategy side as well. Do you find that you answer yes or no? Are you constantly moving out of your comfort zone?
100% of the time.
Yeah. Excellent. I think that's so important. If you don't move out of your comfort zone, you are not going to grow, and certainly anything you're doing will not grow and flourish. So I'm so glad you answered that question. Boy, you get an A.
Thanks.
An A on that one. Let's talk about your biggest influence on your career and becoming a woman in tech. Who was there just cheering you on? Go, Aly, go.
Well, of course, family. Inside the tech world, so my agency focused on working with clients in B2B tech, mostly early stage companies, and a lot of times we were brought in by the investor. My biggest cheerleaders have been those clients. It was the founders and CEOs and investors of those early stage companies that said, you have to do this. And they wrote the first checks, and I lean on them constantly. One of them is actually officing with us. He's writing a book on brand positioning. He's absolutely brilliant. And we absolutely would not be where we are if it weren't for those advisors, because this is uncharted territory. I mean, I have people on my team. I have a co-founder, CTO, who's been through this somewhat at a later stage, but not quite this early. And she keeps me sane. And, in order for a startup to really thrive, you kind of need to have a band of crazy people.
Yeah.
Sane people don't get it. It's just, it's
No.
it's a desert island. There's no rock to hide behind. There's no rug to sweep something under. Like, we're out there, we're exposed, we're all out of our comfort zone. We all have this inhuman desire to create cool stuff and see what it does out in the universe. And that's a really big proposition for anybody. And we couldn't get through the day-to-day of that without those tech company executives who are like, this is amazing, keep doing it.
Absolutely. That's really cool. And just what you said with the crazy people, you have to surround yourself with people, not that you're crazy, Aly, but people who think like you. Yeah. Well, you know what? They think like you, have that entrepreneurial mindset, that drive and energy, and we're going to make this work. And maybe what it also speaks to is maybe you have some other problem solvers in the group as well. If they're like you. So you're a woman in tech, officially a woman in tech. How does that feel?
It's very interesting. And I mentioned my co-founder, CTO, Anila Arthanari, also a woman in tech. She is a brilliant engineer, has grown and developed an engineering team that cannot be beat. Our product is, and our platform is just unreal for the stage that we're at. And she's a big inspiration to me working alongside her. She's really the technologist. It's very interesting. The tech space obviously is very bro. But I also think, this new wave of entrepreneurs in tech really do want diversity. The time and I've been working in tech for a long time on the services side, but the times that I felt discriminated against or, really been in a sexist situation, it's been, sort of with the older guard that's been trained to behave that way. And, the newer guard, there's a, Phoenix, as an example, is the third most active tech startup ecosystem in the entire country right now. And I feel extremely supportive. I've never had a single situation where I felt like I was discriminated against or not given a fair shake because I'm a woman, which I know is not the case in other tech ecosystems. So I feel really blessed to have a startup in Phoenix.
Well, that's refreshing to hear.
Yeah, and places like New York, where you're close to, it's not like that there either. So, maybe it's because we're in a younger tech ecosystem that it's just more inclusive.
Yeah, that probably plays into it. Well, what would you want to tell other women about starting their own entrepreneurial tech ventures? Do it. We need a lot more women in tech. We need more women in business. The data shows that companies that have women in leadership roles and women on the board are, less likely to go into bankruptcy. They're more likely to succeed. They're more likely to be profitable. They have lower turnover by something crazy like 50%. Right.
They're just higher functioning businesses. So what I'd say to, tech needs that. Tech is a predominantly male dominated industry, and, more women can only help. So, we still have a long way to go. It's still, the environment isn't right yet, but we're getting there. And the only way we're going to keep getting there is if women keep, taking a stand. I'll use the term leaning in, showing up at the boardroom, applying for the jobs, defending their position. Women have learned, women like you and me, that we have to work twice as hard to get anywhere we want to go because we're a woman. So keep bringing that attitude, and hopefully our daughters won't have to do that.
Yeah, I think that younger generations, because of us and the way that we're paving the way and what we've experienced, I think that they'll have their share of challenges, but it won't be what we've experienced back in the day with the sexism, any real huge gender gaps. I think that things will continue to shift. We still have a ways to go.
I hope so.
Yeah, I think it's it's positive. Like you can kind of see a light out there, and that's exciting. That's great. What do you think are the 3 most important things maybe that you want to share about owning a business today?
3 most important things. Let's see. Be flexible. We live in an agile world, and you have to be agile. Know that what's working today might not work tomorrow, and you have to be open-minded to that. 2, I think that we are in this wonderful time where failure is no longer a bad word. Embrace failure like the gift that it is, because that is the only time that you accelerate learning. I came up in a generation where we were taught not to fail at any cost. And, there's been a lot of fear there. And I think the best thing we could do for our teams, and for this new generation coming into the workforce is to reinforce the idea that failure is a really, really good thing.
Right.
And I think the 3rd thing is, how do I phrase this? I'll say let go. I just ordered a book called The Art of Learning Not to Give Up. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And there's a really good lesson in there, which is you can't obsess over everything. You can't control everything. You shouldn't care about everything to the OCD level that you're caring about it.
No, you can't.
And it's a really interesting concept about, learning to really lean into the things that matter the most and letting go of the things that don't, and embracing what that can mean for outcomes. So I think that's an interesting lesson that served me well.
Well, you know what? Your number 3, let go. I think that's my favorite lesson of the day.
Oh.
Definitely. So I've definitely heard the be flexible. It's great advice, the failure, but that let go, if everybody could just walk away from this discussion with a better understanding of how you can obsess, like you said, we can't control, let it go. Your mind is freed up to do so many more productive things in your day, in your career, in your life. So, Aly, whoa, great advice. Last question? It's super easy. Where can my listeners find out more about you and your work?
Yeah, so the best place to find me and all my social media handles and all that great stuff is on irispr.com. You asked about resources earlier. We have a resources section that's full of education for PR, Terrific. Integrated marketing, content, great stuff there. I love engaging with people on social media. So definitely hit me up there, and I try to respond to every single email. So you're free to reach out to me there as well, Aly@myirispr.com.
You're awesome. Aly, thank you so much for coming on my show and sharing all of your insights about technology, integration, the startup, and as a woman in tech. So thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, such a pleasure. And I also want to thank all of you for tuning into Women Worldwide. Until our next episode.